when that clock ticks over.
Where's DeRocha?
Appointment today. He'll be here Wednesday, and then Brian.
I figured it.
We'll call the February 16th Ways and Means meeting to order. Could we please start with the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank everyone for being here today. We have an agenda before us. Are there any changes that you see?
I need to add 16A under Labor Relations Negotiations. It's a COAM, Letter of Agreement.
Oh, okay.
I'll move the amended agenda.
Moved by Augustine, supported by Brailer. Or no,
Jeannie.
Not even close.
it wasn't even close.
But,
I think it was Barbara.
in the words of Donald Trump, I'll take the blame.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have minutes from January the 12th. Moved by Roger, supported by Pearl Wright. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. It's an opportunity now for limited public comment. This is the first of two times you can get up and speak with us.
Good morning.
Well, good morning.
My name is Judy Ash, and I work in the Controller's Office, and I've been here 26 and a half years, and I'm getting ready to retire. On your agenda today, you'll be talking about the Medicare Advantage Plan, and I am asking you to consider, along with the bargaining, that you consider setting a limit either on the cost insurance or going back to 2020, going forward with all of the rest of the retirees at no cost insurance share. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Doug Lloyd, and I am your Eaton County Prosecutor. I had the opportunity to review your agenda today, and I saw a couple items on it that I wanted to come down from a meeting I'm having right now and kind of make a couple comments about. First goes to number 12, the resolution to authorize a financial stability work group. I've had the fortunate ability to be included in the financial stability work group's process this year. I wanted to say that as your prosecutor, I support the work and the passing of this resolution by the full board for you to make the needed recommendations and for them to make the needed recommendations for stabilizing the county in the future. As I've told you time and time again, we struggle to keep employees and to attract new employees. And it's due to the past practices of the counties balancing its budgets by not providing for pay increases that keep up with inflation and having to make changes to benefits for stability and the balancing of our budgets each year. While those things have worked in the past and we've managed to balance budgets, there's not enough fat left to cut in our budgets to do that for the future. I'd also like to mention something regarding number 16, the labor relations negotiations. This board, and I've heard them, made a commitment to do early bargaining because of its inability to staff the Sheriff's Road Patrol. As you've heard me say privately and here in front of you, I have had a long concern about the safety of our residents due to the reducing of expenses relating to public safety. This is included a concern for all areas of public safety. I want to say, as your prosecutor, I appreciate this being the first step in the county commissioners recognizing the community's needs of critical services. If agreements have been reached between the unions, I hope you continue this commitment and approve the agreements. Realizing you have to address long-term financial stability. This includes the stability in the employees who serve the people of this county. You're fortunate to have qualified and dedicated employees working in the sheriff's office. And it's important to not only retain them, but to attract more qualified individuals to protect your residents, my residents, our residents. This county has employees who work hard for you and the residents. Now, those of you who have sat here for any amount of time know that I have always spoken for all the employees in this county, and I'll continue to do that, and hope you realize that this is an overall county issue that we are dealing with. And in front of you are two items that, as the board, you need to approve. Thank you.
Yes, Judy.
Hi, I'm sorry. When I asked you to consider capping, I would like the consideration of it not to exceed $200. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else would like to address this body? There'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting, number 18. All right, let's move on to retiree medical advantage plan. Who wants to take it? Ken?
Put me in, Coach. Thank you, everybody. As said, there's a resolution to approve and authorize the controller to sign an agreement in transitioning our retirees' healthcare benefit over to a Medicare Advantage plan. So this change would be in the way we finance our current coverage and how we shop for our insurance. So currently, the model is we have all of our employees and retirees in one plan, but that means the same coverage meant for people in their 20s and 30s is the same coverage we're giving to our retirees, often over 65 population. So we would be buying plans that are designed and regulated at the federal level for retirees. So there's a lot of benefits in doing it this way, not just for us as the employer, but also for our retirees themselves. So the contemplated plan would still use the Blue Cross Blue Shield preferred provider network and still provides current and future Medicare eligible retirees with full benefits without the need for additional supplemental coverage. Transition would include several positives. I'll try to go through them just real quickly. And this would be at no additional cost to our retirees. So a brief summary of the work we did before bringing this before the committee today. First, we've had multiple meetings with Blue Cross Blue Shield and Brown & Brown, which Dan Skyver from Brown & Brown is here, and also James, who's been here with us through Blue Cross Blue Shield, are both here for questions. They're in the back. We've been kicking this idea around since September, and we've done a lot of analysis on it. So we've met and held multiple discussions with the chairman's financial stability work group as well. And this comes before you today from a consensus of agreement within that group that this is something that should be considered at this body. We held multiple small focus groups with current and former employees who qualify for this benefit so we could talk through what the plan was, incorporate their feedback, and we were actually able to make some adjustments that more positively helped with the transition of this coverage. So we thank everybody who participated. We held a town hall meeting with retirees, current eligible employees on Thursday, January 4th. This meeting had a great turnout. I think we had pretty much the whole gallery filled, and then we had about 12 people over Zoom. And then we actually put that meeting up online, so anybody who couldn't make it could come back and watch it later. I know some people took advantage of that opportunity to be able to just see how it went. So I want to thank everybody who participated and those who qualify in the benefit for attending that event and being active throughout this process. I think it was very productive. We had great questions and feedback. And then the other thing is, this is just the beginning of the process. So if this body were to approve it, it goes to the full board for approval next Wednesday. This is just authorizing us to enter an agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We'll still have a full rollout, which will include more educational town halls, documentation getting sent to everybody that would be involved in transitioning from the current coverage over to that. the Medicare Advantage. So we received a quote for a 30-month rate guarantee with Blue Cross Blue Shield, so that would carry us through January of 2027. So anytime you can lock in your health insurance costs for that long of a duration of time, it's a pretty good opportunity. This transition and coverage would be improvement in the service experience for our retirees. I'll highlight a few. One of them is that retirees currently have their Medicare card and their Blue Cross card, and so there's a level of coordination of benefits they have to go through. With us making this switch, Medicare Part A and B, the medical supplemental and prescription drug plan would all be coordinated by Blue Cross Blue Shield. So our retirees would now have one card, and it would be a much easier process for them as they're looking to get their medical treatment and medical care needs met. The other thing that I think a lot of them will probably appreciate, so federally retirees Medicare plans have a requirement that service centers be staffed in the US, so we do get that feedback sometimes. Commercial plans aren't the same way, but if our retirees need to call to speak to someone, they would get service assistance from a Blue Cross Blue Shield employee within the United States. The other piece would be, there's like differences in the benefit in positive ways, like the chiropractic care is unlimited as opposed to right now it's limited at 12. This is an example of the benefits being better tailored to the 65 plus demographic versus the general commercial plan. And the other piece that if they use a preferred network pharmacy, they pay less of a copay for their prescriptions, which is a big win. And as the federal government continues to kind of regulate healthcare in the direction of trying to address systemic issues we've had, like price locks on certain expensive drugs, Medicare is the vehicle that they're currently doing that in, so by purchasing through this, any reforms that occur, we would get the benefit of, as opposed to right now in our commercial group, we don't get the benefits of any of those reforms. The other things I would say for us, just to keep in mind, one of the main reasons this originally came up as we went through and found all the other positives, but communities like us and Eaton County, when you transition from an employer-sponsored plan, this changes the way the other post-employment benefit funding liability, the OPEB liability, and it changes it in a positive way. So our last evaluation had us funded at 32%, which is actually a good rate for a lot of communities that have this benefit. It's much lower, so we've done a good job putting money aside to try to protect this benefit. But I have, for example, communities, a couple cities, and 2 counties that made the transition. When St. Clair County made the transition in 2013, their OPEB liability improved 52%. And then when Calhoun County did it, it was a 37% increase. So we're sitting at 32. We're going to have to get an actuarial evaluation, but there's a real possibility in making a change like this. Our assets will all of a sudden show that we're able to cover this benefit into a much longer period of time. So I would be really ecstatic with the 66%, but it could be potentially higher than that. So we have put out for a reevaluation of the OPEB benefit, but it takes some time for the actuaries to get that together. So fortunately, we weren't able to have it for today's meeting, but it's in the works. Yeah. So this would just authorize Controller Sobey to execute the necessary paperwork to move forward and to sign and take the steps to oversee the transition. And I open for questions. There's a lot here.
I'll move the resolution.
Moved by Augustine, supported by Prolwright. Now we can have discussion.
I'll add one thing, the comment that was made. So what Judy was talking about is there is a cost-sharing provision that was implemented in 2020 for non-union employees. It's been negotiated into the maintenance contract, and it was a topic of discussion with the early bargaining with the sheriff's contracts. The proposal as written just ties the same cost-sharing that current employees have for anybody who retires after those dates. So right now, somebody who's single with a spouse pays $163 a month to buy up to the cheaper, the better plan. The plan with a lower deductible and a smaller out-of-pocket max. So Ms. Ash's request was just that the consideration be given that that price cap is locked at a set amount, so that way 10 years from now, if employees' health care for current employees is above $200, that it would stay at that cap.
That's something that would require an amendment under the personnel policy, so it's separate from
Correct.
what you're looking at right now.
Correct, yep.
Commissioner Brailer?
I'm glad that you touched on that at the end because that was my understanding and speaking just briefly to the controller. I think pretty much everyone who's been here for any particular length of time knows that I have been, almost from the first day I walked in here, been a strong advocate to protect and continue retiree health care among other benefits. We've had in the past some significant discussions about that. In looking at this and listening to the presentations, from having people answer the questions that I've had, it's my belief that this is not an attack in any way on the benefits that our retirees receive. In fact, I think it's an effort to continue those as strong as that we can. I was somewhat concerned about the comments that were made earlier this morning. I am assured that that's a personnel policy issue separate from this particular contract, and I will be supporting this matter. Thank you.
Commissioner Augustine?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Like Commissioner Brailer, I have also been very supportive of maintaining this benefit for our retirees, both those that are currently retired and those that are looking to retire soon. And so I also agree with Joe that I believe this is a way that we can do that we can help ensure that this benefit is there. Obviously, 32%, although Ben says that's a good funding level, that doesn't sound very good to me, and it never has. Even if you disagree with the calculation from MERS, like some do, 32% is a long cry from 100%, which is where you'd like to be. So I think this moves us in the right direction. This was one of the things that we talked about as part of the financial work group, quite frankly, and the importance of making this change to help show all in the public that we're doing what we can to help maintain the benefits for our employees while also maintaining the fiscal responsibility for the county. So I think, there's not a lot of times where we don't have to make tough decisions up here and somebody loses. In this case, I think it's a win-win. I was very skeptical when we first started talking about this. I'll be honest, like Joe, I've always fought for the preservation of this benefit. And Medicare Advantage just scared me right off the bat from the things I've heard. But I was very pleased with the presentation and understanding the differences between this and a commercial plan. I think that this is the right thing to do for our retirees, and I wholeheartedly support this effort. And I also want to take a moment to just thank staff, because you guys did a great job with making sure that this was transparent, making from the get-go, obviously us as commissioners, we were very supportive of the idea of being transparent with our retirees, but the staff, they're the ones that brought the idea to us and pushed it forward, that they have these town halls with the retirees, and they really, really wanted to make sure that what happened before, when we tried to make changes to the retirees' plans, which I agree what happened before wasn't, in my opinion, the right thing to do, this is. But the way that it was handled by staff, to me, was perfect. And I'm very appreciative of the way that the staff took the time when they're in the middle of, 55,000 other things that you guys are doing. But that was very important to us, and so thank you to the staff for doing that. And thank you to the retirees for participating, because those are the kinds of conversations we like to have. We want them involved at the beginning when we're talking about this, not in here yelling at us when we're potentially making a bad decision. So everything went smoothly with that, and I appreciate everybody's feedback and input in the work that the staff did. Thank you.
Commissioner Prolwright?
Okay, just a question. Back in 2005, we no longer have retiree health care. We have health savings accounts. So about how many people now does this change affect? And going forward, how many more are still eligible and will go into this type situation? Because this is a change.
Yeah, no, good question. So the change goes into effect, it's only the Medicare eligible population, so either by disability or being over the age of 65. So anybody that meets those requirements that's an eligible coverage under our plan would immediately be transitioned to that. If you have a situation where a spouse is a little bit younger and working, and their spouse, through spousal benefit, is a qualifying piece, they would have different coverage based on that for that duration of time. But so as of where we're at right now, we have approximately 62 people within the county, and that's all groups that are currently still eligible for retirees' health care that are working today. Melissa's really good about talking about this. 62 doesn't mean the contractual obligation, because some of those 62 have spousal privileges under their plan. So when she's giving the report, it's usually higher, but that's because she's accounting for the fact that a lot of those plans would potentially require us to cover two people.
Okay. All right, so today, how many people, when we approve this today, or if we approve it, will go into the different situation? Do we have like 100 on that situation?
I'm going to call Andrea, because she actually did our retiree healthcare mailers, so she might have a good idea off the top of your head.
We sent out like 220 mailers, but not everybody's 65 plus. I would guesstimate somewhere around 110 is probably in that category, roughly, give or take.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking.
I had a 105 in my mind, so.
Yeah, so we're on the same page.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, so now I have an idea going forward plus immediate.
yes.
Yep, and there'll be lots of communication that takes place. The presentations we had in the financial stability work group from Blue Cross Blue Shield, they're really good at keeping that line of communication open. So if approved and we move forward, the idea would be to do a special enrollment, and July 1st being the launch date. So we would do like another open enrollment period where we're mailing materials and communicating, and then holding a couple additional town halls for them to come in and, again, explore what the actual plan is going to look like.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
I'd like to take a minute and thank staff for this, and I would like to thank all of our retirees and the service that they gave to the county over the years. And to be honest, the retiree healthcare dollar is a very large one, and it was difficult to sustain into the future. This is a step, in my opinion, that helps wrangle in some of those costs. I mean, this is something that we're going to be dealing with for quite some time, as long as we have retirees, and we've committed to taking care of them. And if we can take care of them with a better benefit and one that's got a financial advantage to both sides, then I'm in favor of it. So it's speaking as someone that's on Medicare and has a Medicare Advantage plan, I'm probably can be appreciative of how these plans work and what they're made of and how they're made. And I use mine, my spouse and I, and it's important that we have the convenience of the Advantage plan. Quite honestly, we have one telephone call to make. Our drugs are all wrapped into it. I don't even know where my Medicare card is because I never use it because it's irrelevant. You know, it's my Advantage plan is who we do everything through. And our drugs come through there, and our checkups are done through there. And if we are in Florida or out of state and you have a medical need and you have to go to a ReadyCare or a hospital, that same card that we have in our pocket in Michigan works just as well in Florida, whereas previous, I don't know, it's less cumbersome, it's more streamlined, and we're taking a group, our current, just in general, our current insurance group has 700 people in it. I'll just throw that number out. And that's how big the plan is. And we're going into something that has tens of thousands of people, and that's where the advantage is. You can't, Andrea works her butt off taking care of our 700 people, making sure that bills get paid and things get done. But nice to move into somewhere where you've got a larger group behind us that does a lot of that work for us. And that's again, where the cost savings come into play. So I'm in favor of this. And, yes?
I'd like to just make one point related to this and also what Ms. Ash said as well. You made the first step this year when we approved the Blue Cross Blue Shield rates. we opted out of PA 152, the requirement that the state says what the county can pay for its employees, making the employees pay the higher cost. So when opting out, you allowed us to secure a lower rate for the difference between CB6, that's what we call it, and CB12. So maintaining that PA 152 opt-out would also allow us to keep the cost down. It may increase the county cost in the short term, but it will keep the cost lower for our employees and our retirees.
Okay, motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And this is moved on to the full board on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Mr. Dawson. But you're still up.
All right, next up, positions updates. Want to thank Dan and James for making the trip. We appreciate you guys. All right, so we have filled 3 positions this month. We have 12 positions posted online. 5 of those are ongoing requisitions open between the sheriff's office and the youth facility. There are 10 positions we're recommending due to retirements and people resigning. I'll go through the sheriff's department with a quick update. So we have 1 retirement in corrections unit, so we're recommending the position, but I believe this will be filled immediately. Next, we have the jail EMT spots. There are 2 vacancies, still working to find qualified individuals for these roles. Road patrol, we're at 10 vacancies. So we had 1 sheriff deputy who was in field training, leave employment. The current number of deputies in field training are counted within our staff numbers, but taking those 5 into consideration because they can't patrol on their own, it's more accurate to think we're of us in terms of down 15 spots for a coverage standpoint and meeting demand. That number can also prove higher if anybody's out on an approved leave or assignment at courthouse security. So good things to keep in mind when we think about our budgeted FTEs at the sheriff's office. As we stated previously, number of applicants eligible for hire based on their criminal history, background investigations, and their ability to follow through on the demands of the hiring process, because they do have to fill out a bunch of paperwork kind of attesting to their state of mind. And so there's a process when we go through and put people in on patrol. So once we funnel those few qualified candidates through the training requirements, which is going to the academy and then passing field training requirements, that number becomes even lower, as you can see with like this one that just termed out before completing field training. So what we've been looking at is retention of our deputies within their first 3 years, and that was how we kind of approached the early bargaining discussion, which will be something that we're going to have an update on in a little bit. These same issues with recruitment and retention is a trend in law enforcement nationally and within Michigan, which is one of the reasons we entered early bargaining, and this body authorized that. So thank you for doing that. We wanted to address systemic compensation problems that contributed to our local hiring issues. So we have an update on those negotiations coming up. The sheriff's office currently has 5 people in the academy through our sponsorship program. So that's on the way. We have some people coming on the way, but they'll still have to go through field training when they get here. Resource recovery, we have filled both the recycling center operator and the environmental sustainability director positions. So wherever Debbie is, she's got a little bit less weight on her shoulders, and we're thankful for that. We appreciate all she's done to hold that department together. These positions represent an initial increase in demand on the controller's office with onboarding and kind of training, but the long-term benefits of having these positions filled will be, I think, truly great for the work that department is doing and the capacity there to work on the materials management plan. So drain office, position update. So just wanted to more broadly just bring it up, but we've been having discussions and evaluating the idea of repurposing the drain inspector within the drain office, possibly into an accountant role, or bringing a budget amendment potentially for adding an accountant within the drain office. These discussions are still ongoing, so there's no formal action today. Just wanted you to be aware. There's still more work to be done on this, which is why I'm only mentioning it. But the idea comes from the acknowledgement that it's important that we empower the drain office in being able to manage the complexity of the statutory work within that office. They do a lot of bonding, they manage a ton of funds and drain projects, and they have so many relationships with different contractors that are helping to execute that work. So more broadly, it's just become apparent there's a need for better defining duties and responsibilities between the treasurer's office, the drain office, and the controller's offices based on scope of work they perform individually and then collectively as a county. So more to come on this topic in March, but wanted to have the discussion here.
Could I bend a little bit into that? I mean, the drain office financially has one of the largest segments of the monies countywide and one of the larger velocity of monies moving back and forth. And historically, that's always been kind of the treasurer's office and the controller's office that are sitting on top of the finances for that, for the drain office.
Yep.
And so we're looking possibly at integrating more financial background into the office itself where the work is being done rather than hoisting it off on the treasurer's office. Is that sort of the direction that you're looking at?
You are correct, and trifecta modeling of accounting acumen in a sense. So we would want someone in each office able to collaborate and coordinate. And to your point, like going, not that we're discussing the audit, but there were points in the audit where it was like, oh, well, John always did that. Or, it came back to things that probably should reside within the drain office, not necessarily on a statutory basis, but just naturally, since they're the ones doing the work and executing the work, it would make sense that rest within their team as an institutional design. So that's what we've been kind of analyzing in concert with Bob, with the treasurer's office. And I think he has visions for his office as well, so I would expect conversations to be coming up in a future meeting there. But just the idea that we better structure it so that everybody can participate in compliance with the audit.
And at the same time, each of those groups is double checking the other, which is really the basic premise of all
Accounting
accurate
procedures.
accounting procedures. So,
100%. Yep.
Correct.
okay.
I'll move the positions.
Support.
Moved by Augustine, supported by Brailer, the positions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And we have a special consideration.
We do. So,
Wasn't in our packet.
no, nothing written out.
Purposefully.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have an employee who began their career with the county almost 10 years ago. A unique procedure. They were part-time for a while and then full-time. It just laying the framework a little bit. We received permission from them and their supervisor to discuss the situation broadly, but the employee recently has experienced significant health problems and is in the process of retiring. So we're requesting Ways and Means Committee to authorize the Controller's Office to waive the vesting requirements for the healthcare savings plan for the employer contribution only. If approved, the amount would be less than $6,000 and would go a long way with supporting the employee through what has proven to be a very difficult time for them and their family. As we do get into early bargaining updates and whatnot, right now, the healthcare savings countywide is set at a 10-year vesting schedule. So that's the reason why this employee doesn't meet it, even though they've been here as long as they have. And again, it was because they were part-time for a chunk of their first years with the county.
So moved.
Support.
Brailer and Augustine. So I know the vesting is 10 years, so this employee is approaching that 10-year number?
Correct, but because they were not full-time, not all 10 years count towards the vesting period, correct? Yeah.
It's money we put away into the plan.
It's a little over $5,000 that's tucked away within the healthcare savings plan fund.
Yep.
It's nothing from the general fund.
And we checked with MERS, if we have one-off situations like this within our plan, we can absolutely, we just need authorization from the board, just giving us the okay to do it, but we can do it within the parameters of our plan.
That was my next question. We're not creating any kind of a special, a situation that would have any long-term problems with our plan.
Correct, yeah. If there's ever a situation like this in the future, it could get brought before this body, and each individual case could be assessed on by
Does this
that.
go to the full board, or is this body able to approve it?
Personnel, so just here?
I think it's just here.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Are you done now?
Passing two zips, but you wanted to leave at least it's passing.
Okay, Melissa, that we're in. Yep.
So on to our health insurance report. So right now you have before you the full year of 2023. This does not include the final settlement adjustment for the last quarter. So as you can see, the estimated fund balance is a little smaller than we would like, but I do anticipate a settlement adjustment of just at least over 100,000. So that will help offset the fund balance.
Balance is negligible. Okay.
Are there any questions about the health insurance report? Okay. Thank you.
It's not in the red, right?
Not today.
Last year it was in the red. So our fund balance was, right? Last year was,
We were able to take it from it's the vacant positions that have created the issue because the rates are predicated and the development of the fund is predicated on the fact that you're going to fill the positions. And we didn't. So Melissa, you can see the line that says open position transfers. So she's made those transfers to 63 in order to cover that amount that we were in the red.
okay. Onward.
I didn't hear you call me. I didn't either.
I didn't either. I didn't. I thought Melissa might have something more to add, but she didn't.
No, she's getting out while the getting's good.
Good morning. Okay, I'm ready now. Had a busy month. I'll go through these quickly as possible, and if there's any questions, we can stop and talk about it. One thing, we had a gas leak, natural gas leak over at the, in between the Health Department, DHS, 551, kind of in that area where all of our utilities come in. That was on the 25th of January. My maintenance staff just happened to be walking through Ron Bartlett and thought he smelled gas. And had consumers out here within a half an hour and quickly determined that it was no risk to the building occupants and everything was safe. It was an external leak and they were here that Thursday all the way through Saturday around the clock. And if you remember, that time is when all the snow was melting, so the air was very heavy and the ground was saturated, so the gas wasn't dissipating, so they had to monitor it until it was within the thresholds that they could cover it back up and leave it. So it was below the ground, 8 or 10 feet, and whatever the situation that caused it, it had leaked for, it was a small leak, but it had been there for a while. So got that resolved with no long-term or negative
I mean,
impact.
they fixed it. They just didn't cover it back up.
They fixed it. It was fixed. The JCI, the solar gutters and downspouts. So we are currently working on that. They've got one row done. Over the next few weeks, we'll get that completed. So we're, mitigating the water and ice problems that we had last winter. Originally, they got here quicker than I expected, so I thought we were going to be up against the end of the winter before we got it done, and they're here earlier than I expected. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll have that done. Just yesterday with the snow and the portion they had done, and when it began to melt in the afternoon, it was a significant difference running down the gutters and downspouts as it's designed. So we had a few incidents last year where it would drain down to the ground, and even though the air temperature might be 35, 37 degrees at the ground, it was still freezing and creating slippery conditions for employees coming in. So we wanted to get that resolved as quickly as possible.
I do want to just mention, later in the packet, there's a budget amendment for, I believe, $62,000. And the purpose of that is to cover the catch basins that had to be replaced in the parking area, and then also the portion not covered by JCI, which is the sheriff's solar panel, because that wasn't addressed. So Chad made sure to cover that because they had some very close accidents, potential accidents.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder. The third project I want to talk about is I call it the Construction Codes Renovation Project, but it affects the community development, veterans, resource recovery, equalization. It's a space management project to where we had repositioned or located some departments to make the more efficient use of the space. That is been through design, and I'm hoping to get that underway in construction here in by next month. I'll be able to give you an update that we're off and going with that. And then finally, the youth facility expansion. Did we have those pictures or not? Did we get those in?
Yep.
All right. So I included some pictures where we're at today or this week, and you can see the building starting to take shape. And as I'd mentioned previously, the way we're constructing it from the inside out, that's a good picture of the inner walls. And then they'll, as they continue to build it, they'll do the outer walls, and it's quickly closing in. So, and I also have today Zach Elkins, who's the site superintendent from Granger Construction. Introduce him to you guys. You've met some of the administrative side of it, but Zach's the one that's in the field every day getting the building built for us. And Zach, if you want to come on up and talk a little bit about your role in the project.
Good morning to all. Zach Elkins with Granger Construction. It's a privilege to work at Eaton County. I'm in Clinton, but I'm close to home this time. Last 4 years, I've been up north building buildings for Ferris. As you can see the pictures, the job's coming along pretty good. What we communicated to you guys was to have the precast up and weather dry sometime at the end of March, beginning of April. We're right on track doing that. We've had actually no issues with the masonry, any of the testing, any of the precast. We're just now starting to get into the interior phases, which is some of the small tie-ins from the existing water, scratch net investigating the existing intake. We've scheduled to relocate the existing generator onto a new pad so we can take over that work on the inside of the building. The rest of this month, we'll be setting precast. It should be finalized come around mid-March. Then that's going to pave the way for us to pour the slab on grade, which is the floor on the inside. And currently, right now, the roof is being erected. So we're looking at putting the roof on right around the beginning of March. And throughout March, April, that should get us into the finishes right around May. And then that will be finishing up that small intake area, if anybody in the room is familiar with the project. And then from May, pretty much to September on finishes, that'll allow us to concentrate on finalizing that youth facility addition. And then, which I think is the hardest part, is going inside where the youths are currently housed. We have to relocate them into the new building, and then we've got to take over their space and do a small renovation in there. The reason why I say it's the hardest part is because now you're going in 100% occupied. You've got to move residents into the new space. So for you guys, you're going to be taking ownership of your new space a little bit earlier prior to me turning the whole thing over. So it's just a lot, and right now things are going well. Does anybody happen to have any questions for the project that I might be able to ask?
Zach, thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the precast. Are they sandwiched between foam? It looks- Okay.
Yeah. So there's multiple ways to cast it. This job called for a design that you have your insulation value built into the middle of the panel. So instead of taking it out in certain areas, we left that insulation, so yes.
Okay.
And those are pre-made in a factory. One of the nice things I hadn't been a part of is that all of the conduits and all of the power are actually integrated in the walls.
That's my next question.
And then you're going to see that we actually put the brick and the block integrated in the exterior walls, and that's kind of what I'm waiting for to put the outside up.
Okay.
That's why Chad says we're building the inside out. is, there's a time frame that I have to be done on the job. I guess that's the hardest part. I gotta be done here by September for your guys' grant. Well, when I look at it, I'm kinda like, whoa, can I get that done in a year? I gotta start moving the blocks around. So some of that is moving the blocks around to get there.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Do you know what the, I'm assuming the R value is much higher?
I wouldn't know
these?
that offhand, but yes, it achieves your exterior rating R value from design for the codes that they have to reach to even meet the building codes. So yes.
Yep, I like it.
Any other questions anybody may have?
In terms of supply and the things you're gonna need, like, you know, HVAC and those kinds of things, you know, there's been a bit of a delay in some of that. Do you have all that in hand and on schedule to be here when you need it? Sometimes in construction, that becomes a sticking point for one piece of equipment that doesn't seem to make it on time.
It's the biggest one, Blake. Yeah, so currently right now, we don't have any problems with the equipment. And the reason why we don't is we've done all the due diligence when we got here in the first month. So all of that equipment is approved and it's been ordered. And the majority of the equipment that's hard to get right now is a lot of your electrical provisions, panels, guts, stuff like that. That's in the works. Your rooftop equipment for your cooling and your heating, that's all been procured. Actually, some of it's starting to show up on the job site here over the next couple of weeks. And then the generator was the big one. The generator, they were basically saying they couldn't get it here less than 54 weeks. By staying due diligent on them throughout the process of the approvals and the submittals, we were able to shorten that up to 26 weeks.
Good.
So right now, I don't have a negative or something missing coming from the project. It's going real well.
I'm glad to hear that. There's a project in Grand Legend, the schools are building a new school, and the supply panel, you know, is nowhere to be found. They don't, you know, it's like holding up everything because there's one big thing that was necessary that they're all waiting for, so.
Yep. Just got to stay ahead of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Okay, Chad, you've got a plan. I'm glad to see this. We haven't had a plan like this in the past.
Yeah, so it's for your review, and if you have any questions, if you want to go through it, there's a lot of information on there, a lot of dollars, a lot of items. And as we go forward with our capital improvement plan, we will, you know, look at every year we'll look at a new year, you know, year 7 or so it'll continue to grow. We'll look at our needs, and this was something that Controller Sobey wanted to get done and out there, and we were able to get it done, so.
Tell me about priorities for a plan like this. I mean, priorities are always switching. You know, you have your general idea what has to be done first, what's most critical. But, you know, things change or fires happen and all of a sudden something new reaches the top of the priority. How are you itemizing priorities in this plan, or are you just sort of leaving it more general than that?
It's more general right now, but we'll go through and decide what's priority. I have it generalized, but I do have it listed in kind of terms of
The
what I
stuff at the
think.
top is the highest priority?
Correct. Well, I have it listed by building, so the stuff that starts in next year would be higher priority than the stuff that we could put off. And it's a moving target. We can, some of the things, you know, that aren't critical, we might be able to push off a little longer. But these are the things that I saw as needs that we're going to be facing here in the very near future, so.
So this plan that you're seeing today is really just a simple summary of what they've worked on. The work that both Chad and Eric have done is extremely detailed. It lists out every building, pieces of equipment, upcoming things that will need to be purchased related to any building, any technology, infrastructure that we have. Very detailed, tells the life required to, I'll use technology infrastructure. How long are we going to get out of that? We would do the same with, say, a boiler in any of our buildings. So you'll see that. Our plan is to take it to the Financial Stability Work Group for a consensus there to bring to Ways and Means for approval and approval by the board. And then as part of our budget process, we will continue to move forward with this every year.
So in this year's
After.
budget, which when we sit and discuss this, Eric and Chad will tell us what the priorities, and we're going to integrate it into this year's budget, whichever of these priorities are of this group. And, you know, Chad, your stuff, a lot of it is more long-term. Eric, your stuff goes out of date every week, it seems like, and you're always replacing it. So it's kind of two different animals in some ways.
I also just wanted to note that it was the decision in the capital improvement plan for items to be added to that basically had to meet a $25,000 minimum purchase price. So part of the, forecasting of the budget, our overall annual budget for continuous maintenance, that's forecasted out in our general budget. The capital improvement plan is basically a forklift replacement of something that needed to be, that will need to be replaced. So things that we currently pay maintenance on now, those things will fall off in our, traditional budget forecasting, but are identified in the capital improvement plan. So I just wanted to make sure that that was brought up, that, things that are listed in that capital improvement plan are basically a base $25,000 and up expenditure.
Joe has.
Commissioner Brailer?
Well, I look at this and I appreciate it. It basically tells us that in order to maintain the building and the IT infrastructure, we're looking at investments over the next, well, this goes, I think, till 2007, the next 3 or 4 years, of about $4 million a year. And we've heard earlier this morning that we're going to go into closed session to discuss the early bargaining because of our need to make adjustments to retain the people that we have in the sheriff's department. We've heard earlier this morning the idea that the administration is looking at perhaps 2 new positions in terms of accounting because of the excessive amounts of money that the Drain Commission is working with to bring that in line. Those are being identified as needs, all of which simply puts a spotlight on the fact that at this point in time, we do not have the funds available to do these things in reality. And so as we go forward, and we have a motion or a resolution that we'll take up later in the morning, as we go forward now, this simply, as I say, emphasizes the need, as the prosecutor spoke to us earlier this morning, about finding a way to put this county on a solid financial footing to be able to do the things that, quite frankly, we are being told consistently now, meeting after meeting, need to be done.
Thank you. Commissioner Augustine?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would completely agree with Commissioner Brailer and was going to say the same thing. This is one of the reasons why we are looking at the long-term financial stability of the county. I mean, we're talking about, if I'm reading this correctly and my memory serves me, it's about 16 million over 6 years. So, and just to be clear too for everyone, this is not an expansion. I mean, we're not talking about building a new complex. We're not talking about adding anything new. I mean, there are a couple of buildings that are going to need to be replaced because at some point in time, you can't keep putting Band-Aids on buildings and it's cheaper and more efficient to replace them. But other than that, I mean, this is just to maintain what we have. And so the cost of not only the physical infrastructure, but also the technical infrastructure with the IT, the software, all that, that's not going away. And that's just a cost of doing business now. And so that, again, is why this is so important that we look to make sure that we can afford to do these things into the future. It's critical to be able to provide the services to our residents. So, again, this is why the Financial Stability Work Group is requesting some time to work on, a long-term plan for the county, and why a lot of us have been focused on this for years now. So I really appreciate putting this together, because this helps to show, in a visible way, what we're looking at down the road. So thank you guys for all the work, and I can assure you, being in a couple of those meetings, I saw a lot more spreadsheets than this that were put together by these guys. So I appreciate as much as I love a good spreadsheet, I appreciate the summary that we have in front of us, because it certainly makes it easier for people to understand. So thank you.
And I would say if anyone doubts anything here, just take a walk through the animal control building and see that it needs to be, it's there since the original days, and frankly, it's sad. It needs to be updated. People are concerned about, we have all these buildings, and they all have been there forever, and they all have needs. And sometimes by creating a better work environment and better layout, you can be more efficient. And in the long run, sometimes changing some of the physical attributes of these buildings will, in fact, be more cost-effective long-term. And on your part, Eric, your stuff just keeps getting more expensive, I don't know how many Microsoft licenses we have in this. How many Microsoft licenses do we have?
It's over 500.
Over 500. And there's no cheating. We're the county. We can't share them. We can't, take one license and share it between 8 people like everyone does in the private sector, Well, they're expensive.
Yeah, I'd like to get in one of those groups.
And I'll just add, I've heard Chad say this, this building itself, the main complex for the courthouse, is coming up on 50 years of age. But the average age of county buildings within this complex is 34 years old, correct? 36 years old. So to your point, you don't have to walk very far before you realize that we do have some costs coming up.
Okay. Thank you for that, both of you. All right, budget amendments. You explained one of them to us, Connie.
That's the Public Improvement Fund 225. That was in relationship to the parking lot adjustments that had to be made for drainage, as well as the eaves truss for the Sheriff's Department solar. The Drain Commissioner request was they had a vehicle, it's an Impala, that we can replace through our leasing program that fits the work that they do, so they're not stuck in deep mud with the Impala. So the Drain Commissioner's been requesting that for a while.
I always thought it was cool that they would open the trunk and pull shovels out of there. On the back seat, they had cones, to block off. Why are you in an Impala? I was asking them.
Yeah. I will go down to the last one, which is the Central Dispatch Fund. That is simple cleanup. There was money budgeted as repairs, but in looking at the project overall, Finance Director Ballard had looked at it and determined that it was one project that had to be capitalized, so we are just correcting that budget. And then the last one is related to the Housing Fund, and I will let Commissioner Brailer speak to that. Please.
Well, you know how shy I am about speaking up. Commissioner Pearl-Wright and I are involved in the Tri-County Governor's Initiative in regards to housing. There have been a couple of, actually, I think 3 large meetings and now they've been broken up into subcommittees. I believe 5 subcommittees at this point. I am co-chair of one of those subcommittees, the Equity, Empowerment, and Education Committee. There are others that are largely composed of builders and people who are looking at the regulations. There is, as I think everyone here knows, a housing situation, not only in this area, but throughout the country. There is not enough housing available to the people that live here in Michigan, and some of it is, there are financial difficulties that are also involved. The governor, or the governor's office has decided to make this an issue across the state, and throughout the state, these groups are getting together. It's an attempt to bring all of the so-called stakeholders into the same room to figure out what the various problems are, what the needs are, and what the potential solutions are. And as I indicated, Commissioner Perlwright and I have been participating in that. In regards to the subcommittee that I'm co-chair, we are looking to doing a focus group here in Eaton County, actually all 3 counties. Ingham County has some funds available through the Ingham County government and their health department that they seek to use in regards to the focus groups there. They're looking at 3. We're talking about doing 2 here. We've put together a potential budget that would include hiring a facilitator, finding a place for the meeting, and some other various costs that go into such a project. I was told in talking to Claudine and Connie that we have some monies that have been collected over the years from some housing grants that we have not had a use for at this point. They were administrative funds that we were allowed to keep, and so the account is there. The budget is for significantly less than $5,000, but I don't know what Commissioner Perlwright's subcommittee is doing, nor the others. And so I've asked that we be authorized to spend up to $5,000 in, if the need arises in regards to this project. I don't know where it's going to take us. I think the very first meeting that we had, I was very much encouraged. The second large meeting we had, I was very much discouraged. And the third, I was ambivalent. What I would hope, and what I've stressed to the people who are kind of heading up this project out of Tri-County, is that if this is simply some effort to check various boxes and put something together of which nothing happens, I would just as soon stop. At this point, it appears that there is a momentum, there is an interest in looking at this problem. And we would be naive to think that we don't have a problem. We do here in Eaton County, we do in Ingham County, and I suspect in Clinton as well. While you read about gentrification in New York City or San Francisco or Portland, Oregon, or various places like that, we are suffering gentrification in Lansing. And because of what's happening in Lansing, people are being pushed out, and some are coming into Eaton County looking for housing. And so the problem is real, and the problem needs to be confronted. And I think this is an effort to do that. I would appreciate your support at this point. And hopefully what we will have, my hope is yet this year, a realistic understanding of all of the problems that go into this, and a realistic idea of how to address them going forward in the future. Thank you.
I'll move the budget amendments.
Support.
Commissioner Perlwright, we were wondering on Monday, which leg of this housing group are you working on? Which subcommittee?
I'm working in the work group of new development. I think we need to create affordable housing, and it doesn't mean it's a 2,500 square foot house on an 80-foot lot. So, and Mishta has some money available, and I know that Delta in my area was awarded $11 million for infrastructure upgrades that we'll be working on to be able to build out to the west boundary, and that is my area as well.
In my area.
And part of your area as of the new redistricting. But we have a couple of bankers that are on my work group. We have one of the Gillespie developers, so we're also involved with the LEAP COO on that work group. So I think it's really important that we actually address our affordable housing, because Commissioner Brailer and I both are on the Capillary Michigan Works Board, and we know some of the demand in jobs that are available are in the $16, $17, $20 an hour pay ranges, but that's not gonna allow for affordable housing at $1,500 for, minimum two-bedroom, or even to be able to buy. And under the governor wants us to do something called Grow Michigan, and if you listen to any national news, they continually talk about the states that are losing population. And one of our assets actually is more affordable housing than those places that Commissioner Brailer just mentioned, like San Francisco and things like that, but we still need to rebuild our population. And so that's going to be involved with housing. So, and I firmly believe that people would like to maybe have families, but because of the constriction of their budget, they're choosing not to. And that's not going to, in the long run, be valuable to our state or even our local area.
Okay, thank you. The motion's on the floor for the budget, move the budget amendments onto the full board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next resolution, I would like an introduction from the chairman. Oh, yeah, I had another one before that. I've got a Title 4E Child and Parent Grant Application.
What, you got a tea time, Blake?
Yeah, I do.
I'll move it.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the next one is Chairman Mott will open up the discussion on. This is the Stability Work Group.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. You see the resolution in front of you. I'm not going to belabor it too much. You've heard it from a lot of our staff and directors, and you know that the county's looking to improve its financial place. And the Financial Stability Work Group has been diligently working on a way to address this issue. So we want to bring this to you to authorize us, the Financial Stability Work Group, which consists of Commissioner Brailer, Commissioner Augustine, and Commissioner Mulder, to draft an official report. And this is basically the first step in this process. And what this process is going to entail is a series of meetings with the staff and the public. And then once that has been gathered, the report, the Stability Work Group will gather that information and create a report and bring it back to the board in May. And this is something that is time has come. ARPA dollars during COVID has kind of delayed this process. We would have been addressing this earlier, these issues, but because of that, we're at a place where we need to address it now. You've heard it from Chad and Eric about our situation with the facilities and the technology and the ongoing costs. So my hope is that this board will approve that resolution, and it'll go before the full board next week, Wednesday.
Moved.
Support. Now you can talk.
Somebody moved it. I did. Brailer and Augustine.
Barbara Jr.
Okay. So, you had one of the initial meetings with the administrators and the supervisors in the county. Could you report on that, just to give a
Yeah, absolutely.
quick,
So this is pretty historic, actually. This is the first time that we've ever had all the supervisors, mayors, leaders throughout the county all together in one location. And we had some great discussion, and we shared with them the situation we are at the county. They were very appreciative. I've had several people come up to me afterward and thank us for having this meeting, so that they could be informed, and they most saw it very helpful. So in the future, I think we're gonna try and schedule this and at least once, twice a year, and bring everyone together in the county and have discussions. So if, unfortunately, it was a situation where that brought them together, that's kind of a negative situation because of our position financially, but I think in the future, we can have some very good discussions back and forth of what they're struggling with and how we at the county can help them at the local level. And so that was, personally for me, I was very excited to have the meeting. Wasn't sure how it was gonna go, but at the end, I was like, this is something that needs to happen more often, so.
thank you. Yeah, and in the end, the financial stability of the county is the financial stability of all of our partners and all of the governmental units in the county. You know, everyone can say that, you know, the county is separate from all the townships and the cities and villages, but that's not true whatsoever. We are all one functioning unit. We interact with each other. We help each other out. We're all part of the same service to the residents of this county. And we have different roles in that service. We have different responsibilities, but we work in pretty much an interlinked manner. We all are part of making a better lives for all Eaton County and its residents. So anytime we make a big decision like this that involves everyone, we need to make sure that each of our governmental units and all the others are involved in making that decision. So, any other questions or comments about the resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we're moving this on to the full board. Okay. I probably should have, the limited comments, we're going to go into after some motions go into closed session. I think I'd like to take a break first before we do that. Is that going to be appropriate?
Yeah, did you want to approve the bills and the?
Oh, yeah, I
budget
missed-
schedule?
Yes, I do.
They're quick.
Yeah. We have a budget schedule. I jumped ahead.
Bills and then the budget schedule.
We have a budget
sorry.
schedule. Make sure that you put it into your calendars, because it's always surprising in the middle of July when all of a sudden there's an extra Ways and Means meeting. And if it wasn't your calendar, it's a surprise. So make sure that you write these down and get them in your calendars.
I'll move that we pay the bills.
Okay? Augustine Pearl Wright, pay the bills. Move on to full board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I would move the budget schedule.
Support.
You guys are really helping my tea time.
Trying to get you on the tee box, Blake.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I'll make one point on the budget schedule, if I may.
Yes.
That is just that we use the same model that we have used in the past, as we move through the beginning process of the budget, it's possible that Ways and Means may want to look at things more closely, so we may modify some of these dates or potentially add dates. Not to scare you, but just so that you know.
Well, and I'll scare you in that this will be a somewhat difficult budget cycle, and I'm just, I'm not, I can't see into the future, but there are some things that are fairly obvious in the future, and that this will be a difficult cycle. And I've been through many, many of them, and this one has its challenges. So, Commissioner Brailer?
Yeah, thank you. I was just looking at our agenda where I assume we're about to take a break for a few minutes, but I noticed that limited public comment is after the two closed sessions.
I noticed that too, and I think, to be honest with all the public, we're gonna go into closed session for who knows how much time, and for you to wait outside, to make a public comment, I think is a disservice. We like to make the public comment at the end of the meeting so that you can comment on what happened at the meeting. And so to put it off after a closed session where there'll be no public to make any comments.
The only thing that I would
Is it
note.
legal that it has to be this way?
Well, the thing that I would note is that you're going to take action on, hopefully, on both of these items. And in the event, you're going to come out of closed session, you're going to take action, and someone may want to come back and say something to that action.
Right.
So that's a possibility.
Could I make a motion to just add an additional limited public comment right now?
I will
Prior to
accept
the
that
break?
motion. We'll have another public comment right now and one at the end. Moved by Augustine, supported by Braille.
But you can only talk once. No, I'm just kidding.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, having that motion, now's your chance for the second of 3 public comments. I only see one person in the audience that's from the public.
I've always thought the non-public public could address this as well, so.
Anything? Anybody? Thank you. We will take a break of 10 minutes and return and go into closed session with the necessary motions and roll
morning to finally reside the house, right as I was leaving.
Yeah, well, I didn't know you lived right, one of my daughter's best friends lives across the street from us.
Oh,
Charlie, DeRosa.
Yeah, we love the DeRosa. Yeah. Well, and plus, my daughter's birthday was yesterday. She turned 12, so we've got like half the dance team coming over for a sleepover.
Boy, good time for the construction crew to show up, huh?
Yeah, they better be.
You might need them tomorrow, too.
Is Logan in there?
Yes. You need him?
It's not working. I know Aaron left.
Logan's our backup IT
Oh, it's on, it's on.
It's on, another mine. Eric's probably only halfway over there. I just passed it. Okay, Commissioner Brailer?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would, at this time, move to enter into closed session under Section 15, 268, Section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to discuss trial and settlement strategy in connection with pending litigation in the matter of case number 123 CV 23 PLM SJB Nicholas Sanderson versus Eaton County et al. And I would so move.
Support.
Moved by Brailer, supported by Augustine. Roll call vote is required.
Correct.
Who's your call on it? Holloway.
Commissioner Augustine.
Yes.
Commissioner Perrot. Yes. Commissioner Brailer.
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Joe, that was the best off the
Okay, now we have to wait again. Ben, will you check your phone? Maybe it updates quicker.
Currently still in closed session.
I know those on-air signs have been on the whole time.
They stay on it goes like this. It does this.
All right. I mean, the last thing I want to do is get in my car and get a couple of emails from people going, what the hell were you talking about in there?
Back on the air.
Oh, there's like a delay in broadcasting.
Let me grab.
You're on the air.
He's in the conference room.
I'll be advised.
He's in the
Do we have the power like the,
Okay,
to
we're
delete
back
it?
in open session.
The sign.
Have to take the sign down.
You're live again.
Thank you.
How? Oh, okay, we're good.
I would like a motion. We need to have the door
Just
open
need
first.
to move, if it's your wishes, to move legal counsel's recommendation.
I would move the legal counsel's recommendation.
Sport.
Augustine Brailer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And as a reminder, this will go to next Wednesday, where we'll have much of the same discussion. Thank you. Now, the next closed session.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we enter into a closed session under section 15.268, section 8C of the Open Meetings Act to discuss strategy and negotiation sessions connected with the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement, and I would so move.
Support?
Moved by Brailer, supported by Augustine. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Augustine?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearl Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Brailer?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers? Chairman Mulder?
Yes.
All right, now we
Now
go.
wait. really drives me nuts. It's awful.
That's an estimate, so we might be live right now.
Wow.
When John was running the thing, it worked.
I think we may be out of closed session, we just can't see it. So someone's gonna hear that. There we are back in.
Oh, that's me. What are your wishes?
Shouldn't we have voted to come out of closed?
We did.
Yes, we did. You just didn't, you didn't vote. The rest of us did.
Second and voted.
Should the record show you would have supported that?
I still got 45 minutes to kill.
No, I don't. I got tea time.
I would go ahead and move the recommended agreements with the two labor union groups.
Sport.
What about the,
I'd like to do those separately.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what I was, yeah.
that's what I'm wondering. Okay, so
Yeah.
the motion is to the two labor groups' recommendation agreements.
Yeah, we're
To the Board of
recommending,
To the
Commissioners.
board, move it to the full board.
recommending to the full board, they adopt or agree to the negotiated contracts.
Correct.
Okay, moved by Augustine, supported by Brailer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and the next one?
Would amend the agenda, right, adding a 16A.
Well, we had already amended the agenda, so what we're asking for now is that letter of agreement for Lieutenant Shipman.
So moved.
Moved by Augustine, supported by Prolwright. Does this need to go to the full board?
Yes.
Because it's, okay.
It's an LOA.
Because it's out of time. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This is the next opportunity for public comment.
There's no public. Sheriff. Could have talked before.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I appreciate it. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is next Thursday, February 22nd, we're having our annual awards banquet. It's not going to be in our training room. We've got a room over at Alive. It's at 6 o'clock. There'll be beverages as well as some appetizers, all donated. You're more than welcome to come. And if your office can go ahead and forward it to the rest of the commissioners, that'd be great.
That'd be great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff. Okay, the Board of Health, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
The Board of Health meeting is in 10:45.